The 15-Point Plan is part of the Win, Make, Give podcast network.
Welcome to another episode of the 15-Point Plan podcast. My name is Ryan Park Greigg, and as always, I'm here with my amazing co-host, Jacqueline Smith. The 15-Point Plan podcast is simply a system, right, Jacqueline? It is a system that will allow you to increase your energy and reduce your stress level. And we do this podcast every week. And every week we talk about each one of those 15 points. But over the last 6 weeks, give or take, we jumped into one of our favorite books, Brendan Burchard's High Performance Habits. And we had such a great time and got such a great reaction from our listeners that we decided to jump into another book, another one of our favorite books that we felt was really in alignment with the 15-Point Plan. And that is James Clear's Atomic Habits. Right, Jacqueline?
Yes. And this one, so I've actually read High Performance Habits, as I mentioned, numerous times. I mentioned it numerous times and I read it numerous times.
Yeah.
But this one, I have not read it for since, I don't even remember when it was, maybe 2019. When did the book come out? I don't know. It's been a while. So I'm excited to refresh and talk through it because I really loved the way that we chunked down. I mean, High Performance Habits is a big book. It's a big read. It's like a Bible for high performance Bible. So this one, I'm excited to chunk it down and really internalize it and get some good nuggets out of it. So.
Same. And so clearly we are really diving into this whole idea on habits because we know that habits essentially make you who you are. Mm-hmm. Small habits, James Clear says, small habits compound over time, much like interest in your bank account. Mm-hmm. And I love how he talks about just habits compounding and making you really who you are. You become the sum of your habits. And as we jumped into the first section on the fundamentals of habits and how these small habits really make a big difference. And how he says, 1% change over the year is a 37% change. It really just resonated with the 15-Point Plan because the 15-Point Plan, if you look at each one of the points, hydration or movement or nutrition or journaling or hobbies, if you look at one of those things, it might not seem like a huge deal, but if you do each one of those things and you track each one of those things and then you compound each one of those things over time, I really do believe you start to feel like a superhuman, right?
Absolutely. And, we're going to dive into how to build habits. And I think we've tried to do a couple episodes on this in the past, and I don't know that we nailed it. Because we have so many people that follow the 15-Point Plan. And I think that a lot of people have their core, maybe let's call them core fundamental habits that they get those points every day, almost pretty consistently, right? But then it's how do we add the ones that we're missing and get consistent with them. And there's all sorts of different, the 21 days, the 66 days, the 100 days to build a habit, right? But this book, we're going to talk through just some fundamentals here today. And then we're going to break down each of the laws that they talk about. The first one is make it obvious and then make it attractive. The third one is make it easy. And the fourth one is make it satisfying. So I hope that by going through this in this manner that we will help some people maybe add, even if it's 2 extra points, right? Over the course of 5 or 6 weeks that it takes us to go through this book. Because for me, Ryan, and I'd love to hear how it is for you. I was just sharing this with my team the other day. For me, if I'm consistently getting 12 points, I'm not perfect at 15-Point Plan. And we're the podcast hosts, Yeah. And so that's not about perfection. There have been times where I have aimed, I'm going to see how I feel when I'm getting 15 every day. When I've done different challenges and whatnot. But for me, I feel pretty good if I'm consistently getting, 12 plus points. If I have a day where I get 9, that's okay. But if I have 3 days, it's not good. So I don't know. Do you have a number, Ryan, that is like your kind of sweet spot where you know that you can't go below that, or you start really feeling it in your energy and your mood?
It's probably right about the same as yours. It's probably 10 to 11. And what I notice is that I'll feel there is such a difference, though, in hitting those couple extra things, because
Mm-hmm.
I think you and I are similar. The ones that we neglect are maybe the ones that give us probably the most joy. For example, our hobbies. I was going to say habit,
Mm-hmm.
our
Yeah.
hobbies, and the service point, which I think we easily overlook the service point. We probably do the service point a lot. But when I'm super intentional about the service point and I really go out of my way to be of service, I think to myself, I was giving back in a strong way to my community or to my people or to my family. And then hobbies. Like if I get a 15 out of 15, or if I'm getting a 14, that means I
Mm-hmm.
probably just didn't do my hobbies. And if I do all these other things, like get my movement in, my hydration, I sleep well, I look at my goals, and then I go out and do something like, I don't know, gardening or hiking or
Mm-hmm.
something that's a hobby, like I feel super complete at the end of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And then that turns into this cycle, because if I did all that, I'm probably kind of tired now because I had a full day. I feel accomplished and I go to bed feeling accomplished and I sleep well, and then it's on
Yeah.
repeat.
The thing is I think like he does talk about in the book, I think a lot of times just we get in this weird mindset of like the all or nothing thinking, right? So like with hobbies, for example, like if I can't go out and like weed my whole garden, or if I can't go on this like, half day hike, um, or whatever it is, like then I'm not going to do anything. And so I think Ben even talks about this. Like, let's say you're into like, I know he's really into like baseball cards or whatever those are called. Maybe they're not just baseball, but
Yeah,
sports
all
cards,
sport cards.
the
Yeah, yeah.
collector's cards. And so like doing a hobby around that, maybe like researching, or if you're really into like fishing, maybe it's like researching where you're gonna go fishing. It's not necessarily like that you have to actually get out and do the actual hobby. Sometimes it can be researching for the hobby, and that can actually fill your bucket too. And so in the book he talks about like small improvements compound, right? And so
Mhm.
just 1% improvement makes a massive difference over time. So since the 15-point plan is so customizable and you decide what getting the point is, if you're continually missing a point, maybe it's not just like don't throw that out, but maybe adjust your definition or your scorecard for yourself on how you get that point and make it something that's just more attainable for you so that you're getting that 1% improvement over time, right? Because there's a hockey stick in the book, the visual of over time, 1% improvement, what that does. And the
Right,
reverse is true. And that's what you're
right,
talking about. Like if you don't do your habit all year,
right.
where would
And
you be?
well, and exactly that hockey stick effect, or that 37% growth effect, is the exact same in the positive, but also in the negative direction.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, and when you think about what's possible, and when you think about making a change in your life, especially as we get older, because change can happen so rapidly. Like if I don't do something over just a couple days, I feel
Mm-hmm.
really crappy. Whereas if I'm in my 20s and I
Yeah.
don't drink water, I'm like, whatever. Like our teenagers, like they can do whatever. They can not drink water and eat crappy and they're gonna feel fine. But as we hit our 30s and 40s and 50s, like this stuff happens and it happens quickly. So if we really want to make a change for the positive or avoid the negative change, we have to stay on these things because it can very quickly happen in both directions, the positive and the negative. And I love this idea of our habits shaping our identity, of our
Mm,
habits shaping our identity, because the more we do things, then we start to become the runner, right? Where initially we just think, gosh, I want to get out there and I want to run a little bit more, but I'm not a runner. But then you run for one day and then you run for 1 week and then you sign up with people to do marathons. And now, next thing you know, you wake up and you're putting on your shoes and you're grabbing your water bottle and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I'm a runner. Like,
mm,
I am a runner. And so it's not just like I want to do this, but I am this. And these habits or this 15-point plan or these systems actually now create our identity of the person that we want to become or are becoming.
yeah. You just reminded me, you described exactly my husband and the journey he's on, because he is running the Chicago Marathon. He's never ran a marathon before. He's never been a runner. We did 75 hard to start out the year. And, then he continued. And a lot of times in the years past when we've done 75 hard, we finish 75 hard and, go back to whatever we were doing before.
Yeah.
And I mean, I will say that each time we would get like a little bit better. Like I've always stuck with my water since the very first time that I did 75 hard. So that stuck, right? But not the restrictive meal plan or working out 2 times a day. We would go back to being a lump on the log, but Phil is not being a lump on the log. He is definitely training and it's become his identity,
That's right.
I'm a runner. Well, what are you? I mean, a lot of us are realtors, but like, what else are you? A parent, a mom, but what do you want to be? Like, what identity would shape the habits that you want to build? So maybe thinking more about not what you are, but what do you want to become? And what are the habits that you'd have to implement to get there?
That's right. And then James Clear talks about building a habit, like you said, those 4 steps: make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. And then the third section of those fundamentals is how to build better habits in 4 simple steps, right? So step number 1 is cue, like have triggers, something that triggers that behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into step number 2, the craving, like the motivation to act. And step number 3, the response, that is the actual habit itself. And then the reward, like you feel dang good. So you have something that triggers the run, thinking, okay, maybe for me, it's like, I wake up and I just know now, like I wake up and go do it. Yesterday, I run a couple times at the second part of the day and I was finishing up phone calls and I was just like itching to go for a run. And I knew something had gone right in my body because like in the past, I would hate going for runs. But yesterday there was this cue of, okay, I'm done now. And I have about an hour until I need to be at my mom's for dinner. My cue was, I'm done. I get to go for a run now. And then the craving, step number 2 happened. Like I wanted to go out and go for a run. My mom has a pool. I knew when I go for a run, I'm going to feel really good. Now I go do the run and now I get this reward. Like I did my run. I feel really good. And there's a pool waiting for me. And so it's just nice to have that feeling and to be able to do that and to reward yourself and following those little steps and just building that habit over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
So James Clear, Atomic Habits. If I can make it all the way through this, Jacqueline, of talking about atomic habits and high performance habits and not saying Brendan Burchard or James Clear's name instead of the other one, I'm going to be really happy about all of this. So James Clear, Atomic Habits is the book that we're jumping into. We're talking about how to make small improvements over time. And again, how something like the 15-point plan can help you make those small improvements just by following the system. Remember, you can print the 15-point plan at wouldmakegive.com. And on the back side of that, there's that 30-day tracker.
Yeah.
And if you track these things like drinking your water and your movement and your journaling, and you start to track these and you start to build that habit. And then one thing that we've talked about on previous podcasts, you can find out how to stack these habits. So in other words, you put your supplements by your running shoes, or you put your journal in your meditation area so that you can go from your mindfulness point right into your journaling point. From your movement point, look at your goals. Put your vision board where you work out. Put your goals on your phone so when you're working out, you can see, so you can start getting 2 points at the same time and really start stacking those habits together. They'll come so much easier for you, right, Jacqueline?
Yeah. And I think it's good just to keep some awareness around, when you might be in a rut. And that's what my go-to is for my team, for my family. Like if people are starting to have low energy or feeling overwhelmed, it's like the times where you feel like you don't have time to do the 15-point plan because you're so overwhelmed. That's actually when you need to do it, because a lot of times our overwhelm or lack of energy, it's actually coming because we are out of alignment and we aren't taking care of ourselves because we're too busy. And so this will be a great reset if you'd like to use this start of a new book with us and as a maybe landmark and start again with the 15-point plan. We invite you to do that, download it, like Ryan said, and follow along, and figure out how to implement more of the 15 points into your daily life, which we're going to help with, or James Clear is going to help us with, I should say, as we dig into this book. So I'm excited. I'm super thankful for all of you who follow along, and it's always fun for me when one of the girls on my team came in the other day, and we do gratitude at the end of every meeting. And she said, I was listening to this podcast. She just said this podcast, on my way in, and it was really motivating. And I was like, which one is it? And she said, the 15-point plan. And I was like, oh, bonus points,
Yes. Awesome.
But share this with someone that you love. And it's okay to have to recommit, 15 times a year. Doesn't matter.
That's right. Track yourself, see where you could use improvement, reach out if there's anything that we can help with. You can find me online, Ryan Park Greigg, and Jacqueline online at Jacqueline Ray Smith. As I mentioned, winmakegive.com. You can download the tracker, and you can listen to all the other cool podcasts on our podcast network. Thank you all for listening. Next week, we're going to jump into the first section of the book. We're going to talk about James Clear's Atomic Habits, and we're going to talk about how these fundamentals make a big difference, and the first law, making it obvious. So until next time, we thank you all for listening. Bye, everyone.
Bye.